everyone. I'm back today and I wanted to talk this time about 10 pet peeves of mine. Now, when I say this, of course, probably there's probably two different ways of viewing a pet peeve, because there's probably the more general ones, such as like someone like chewing all up in your ear, and then there's ones that are probably like a little bit less generalized, like, oh, that that upsets you, and so I don't know. I think that this was just something fun, like a fun activity that I was doing for myself. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? I should probably try to like list them and then just like share it as a video on YouTube, just because why not? And the reason why I was even doing it for myself was because I've been trying to really view myself more and identify a lot of the underlying things that may trigger or bother me, especially being an Enneagram 9. And I have a video that I'll be recording and coming out with that soon, the part 3 of my Enneagram journey, now that it's been quite some time since I've discovered that I was an Enneagram 9, and lots of things that I've been learning from that. But yeah, as an Enneagram 9, one of the things that I'm sleep to is not only like my own like desires and needs or whatever, on top of being an FE dom, but then also like my own anger. And so I've been trying to like pay more attention to the things that may like bother me, and allowing myself to like feel that, or like go through that. And so when something like would bother me, in order for preparation for this video, which by the way, it took me 4 days to come up with a list of 10 things to put in this video. I'm not kidding. But what I did was like, I had to keep this list at work, and because I guess that's where most of my pet peeves came from. I kept this list at work. And whenever something would like bother me, I work as a server, by the way, on top of life coaching. But yeah, whenever something would like bother me while I'm serving, then I'd just kind of like twitch a bit, and I'm like, oh, I need to write that down. So I'd just take out the notebook and jot that down, and I'd think about it like throughout the shift. And I just found that to be like something interesting for me, just another way to like self-introspect. And so I've listed 10 things, and some of them, like I said, I'm just gonna probably just breeze right through, and then the others I might elaborate a little bit more. I might even give a story, who knows, we'll see. So let's start off with number 1, which is being interrupted. So the reason why being interrupted bothers me so much, that it's like actually like number 1, is because it's like I have a train of thought, and once someone like hits it, whether it's like excitedly because they wanted to interject a thought of their own, or if it's because they're bored or whatever I'm saying, or something like just distracted them, I become derailed of that train of thought, and it's very hard for me to find that train of thought again. Now, doing videos such as this, and everything for the past few years has been helping me to find ways on like how to sniff back that scent. But especially when you're in the heat of a conversation and there's just like other variables there, as opposed to like, right here, like on video or something, where it's like, okay, I'm just have to like try to retrace my steps, my thought process. Yeah, it's pretty darn difficult. But I think that the biggest thing, to be honest, is because not only am I hate it when people interrupt me when I speak, and I hate it when other people are being interrupted when they speak, because I want to hear what that person is saying. So like when I'm watching like interviews and like Oprah like is like excitable, and then she like interrupt the person that she's like hosting or whatever, like especially several times as they're speaking and already like answering a previous question or something, I just like, no, I wanted to hear what they wanted to, I wanted to hear what they were gonna say. Like at least let them finish the thought before they before like they get interrupted. Now, as I'm saying this, I just feel the need to also put this disclaimer that I'm not saying that I never do these things, but I do have confidence that I very rarely do these things. So for that person that may want to like go and find older videos of me like interviewing someone or whatever, and you're like, oh, but you did this at 34 minutes and blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, and I hate that I did that. And just like I said in my video, using other people as mirrors, when I see that behavior, when I see a behavior that I don't like in somebody else, then I do try to look back at myself, like, wait, do I do this? So that I could avoid stuff like that. So yeah, interrupting people and like being interrupted by someone really bothers me. I also don't really like it because it gives me the message that whatever I'm saying is not important and or it's boring you. And if that's the case, then yeah, that sucks. And I understand that you can't help that you're bored by what I'm saying. And so I don't blame you, I guess. But it still sucks. And it's like, okay, well, I guess being given that message, yeah, it still would bother me, whether it's the truth or not. So yeah, all that to say that, yeah, that's what bothers me about being interrupted while speaking and while seeing other people being spoken of, or while other people are speaking. Yeah, number one. Pet peeve number 2 is irritable people. People who are just always grumpy, are just always like muttering to themselves. Like, they're it's almost as if they're the only ones who are dealing with the woes of life, and then they find the necessity to kind of unleash that onto other people. I work with someone who just seems to always be this. I know several people that are like this, but just one of the main people that I'm thinking of, at least as a most recent example, like I work with someone who, or a few people, god dang, there's so many of y'all out there in the world. If you're one of them watching, like, yeah, you're one of my pet peeves. Like everything in life bothers you, and it's just like, did you know that there are so many billions of people in the world as well who are going through their own problems? And this is not to invalidate your problems, but maybe you should not, maybe try to at least to do better with being more considerate of what other people may also be going through, so that just because you're going through whatever, you don't unleash that inner anger and turmoil into someone else. So yeah, people who are just like easily angered and like just grumpy and like they're just always like in a bad mood, I don't like that. And I try to stay out of their way. Yeah. Be defensive / sensitive people. So I'm someone who really tries hard to give news, my opinion, my thoughts, all of this stuff in a very tactful manner. And when I say tactful, I mean in consideration of how it might emotionally affect you. So even if the content itself might be offensive, I try to deliver it in a way that the delivery itself won't be offensive, if that makes sense. So if I'm giving you my opinion, it's always going to be 100% truth. It's always going to be 100% honest, what I think, honestly. But the way that I'm giving you this opinion, I'm going to try to deliver it in a manner that makes you know that, hey, I'm not looking to try to get you to flare up and attack me and just become very like biting and defensive and stuff like that. So because I put so much energy already into considering this, when people still decide to get offended and just very sensitive and emotional and irrational in that sense, I'm baffled and I get upset because it's like, are you serious? Like I have done so much to try to avoid you reacting in the way that you're reacting, and here you are reacting in this way. Maybe you can't help it, and okay, well that sucks. I'm not even saying that facetiously. I mean, like, seriously, like, wow, like that really sucks that you can't help that me just asking about, so I've noticed that, you know, you have been watching a lot of Netflix. Have you, you know, maybe like been doing a good job on also like trying to like keep up with like activity, you know, like just to like get in your body and all of that, or I don't know, just anything like off the cuff in that manner. Or even you asking me my opinion on something, you asking me, and then I'm just like, oh yeah, well, you know, like, oh, Denzel, what did you think of my song? Well, honestly, since you asked, like, I don't think that it was necessarily like my taste. I think it probably like wasn't your best work, or yeah, just in my opinion, like it wasn't really like preferable. But I do advise that, you know, maybe you can keep on trying, you know, whatever. Oh, so you don't like it? So you think I can't sing? I mean, yes, but like, what did you want me to lie? Like, why are you getting upset about this? I can't help that I think that you can't sing. I can't help that. By the way, I'm not talking about Jamila. Just before anybody becomes messy. But, you know, just like random examples of people, like random examples of situations. Like, yeah, y'all got the point. This also bleeds into people who just always want to win the argument. That they just always have to have the last word for something. They just always have to have something to say back. And of course, those people would say the same thing then about me. It's like, well, I just want to always have to say the last thing or same thing back because you always have to. And I honestly try to like radically be honest with myself and evaluate myself. And I don't think that that's the case for me. I think that I do. In fact, if anything, a lot of times when I notice this in somebody else, I'm just like, okay. Like I just sit it out because I'm like, I see that you're not being rational with how you're speaking. You're just kind of trying to win, and you're not really trying to like understand. And we're not going to get anywhere. So let's just stop while we're ahead. And I don't mind just being the one to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to say, yeah, you're right, because that's not true. I don't believe that you are right. But I'm going to just be like, you know what? Yeah, let's just let it go. And I don't mind you having the last word. But I will admit that it is a pet peeve. And that's something that irritates me. Overly anxious people. That, it's like people who are just always like fretting. Like, or like they can't trust the process. They can't. And again, I understand that a lot of these things, like people can't like help it. But then in the same sense, I guess I can't help that it irritates me. I'm a very like, or I'd like to think that I'm a very like relaxed, mellow, nonchalant kind of person. And so when situations arise, then my neuroticism is like very low, and I just try to be like very level-headed and clear, and I'm like, all right, dang, like this sucks, but you know what? Let's try to figure out a way to like get through this or whatever. Or if it's out of my control, especially things that are out of my control, it's like I'm not about to worry then, because there's nothing that I can do. And I just have to like let that go. You know, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. I will pray about it and I'll commit it into God's hands. And I'm like, God, you not only know what's best for me, but you want what's best for me. So therefore, I'm just releasing this because I don't know what to do anymore. But people who are just constantly like, you know, just like shivering about something, or like, oh, but what if this, what if that, and what if this, it's like, okay, please stop. Like, get that energy away from me because now I'm getting secondhand anxiety, and I it's just a feeling that I don't really do well with. I don't like that. So yeah, now pet peeve number 5 is insensitive people. It's like, I don't even know. I feel like that's just like a very like self-explanatory thing. Like, if you are insensitive, what more can I say? Like, you're not sensitive to other people. One time, I'm at work, and I'm about to get myself some water from one of my tables, and then this girl just kind of like cuts right in front of me. This other server girl, she's like in a rush and everything. She just like kind of like cuts right in front of me to like get her water first, and then she like just bounces back over to her table. And that means that I had to like refill the pitcher and everything. It's like, how do you know that I'm not in a rush, you know? And this has happened like on more than one occasion. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like inconsiderate people. Like, how are you not thinking, insensitive / inconsiderate people, like how are you not thinking about your actions and how they're influencing other people? I don't know. To me, that's like very foreign. So yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine. I really dislike witnessing things like that, having stuff like that be done to me. And if it were up to me, stuff like that would be eradicated. So that's number 5. Pet peeve number 6, loud noises. Motorcycles. I hate those. I hate those things so much. Like, why do you have to like all of that unnecessary noise? Like, how do you even live with yourself? Like, how do you live with, like, you know, you're riding around, like, maybe like I don't know. It's something that will instantly, you'll see my face change, you'll see my energy change. You're probably seeing my energy change right now in the video. I think that's like one of my biggest ones. It's just like loud noises in general. Now, sure, stuff like if like glass breaks or something like that irritates me, but it's like, you know, I get it, you know, like, okay. But like, yeah, like motorcycles is just like number 1, like right there. Like, cause I just feel like that's an intentional, unnecessarily loud noise that people seem to be proud of, and they'll like rev their engine or whatever based off of that. People who are loud and boisterous in general, and I understand that, you know, like, you're an excitable person, you know, whatever it might be, you jump into a situation, that's just what you're gonna say, whatever. But it's like, dang, like, you know, the ambiance is like, you know, really cool, we chilling, we vibing, and then all of a sudden you pop in and you just start like speaking really loud and just like laughing like really loud, or like you're yelling really loud about something, or like you put the TV on really loud. Just, what are you doing? So yeah, loud noises is a very big pet peeve of mine. I like to have like my inner sanctuary, like just at like a very like mellow, chill, peaceful kind of thing. And of course, you know, there's times when, like, you know, you're at a party or something, like you can be like expected, but like I guess I see that as like a necessary loud kind of noise. Whereas like there's just a lot of things in the world that are just unnecessarily loud. And I guess it goes back to being inconsiderate. Like, how are you not being inconsiderate of those around you? What if they don't want to hear that loud motorcycle? I don't know. Yeah. Number 7 is being rushed. And this kind of connects back to the one about anxiety. I really don't like being rushed for anything. Like, having that type of like pressure on me, like, come on, we have to hurry up, like, you gotta get to the table, you gotta do this. I like to go at my own pace with things. Dang, this video is really so like Enneagram 9. But yeah, I just like to go like about my pace with things, and I don't think that I'm slow. I may not be like the fastest person either. In fact, I'm definitely not the fastest person, but I'm not also the slowest person. I find a pacing that, you know, works for me, and I move in that. And when I feel like it's necessary to speed up, I will speed up. Usually, a lot of times, I have to go at a certain pacing so that I don't mess things up as well. So yeah, when I'm being rushed in any situation, especially because everybody claims, you know, to an extent that they're a perfectionist. So I don't really want to like say that, but in a lot of things I kind of am, or I definitely am. Like, you know, I want to make sure that, you know, when I make a series of videos or a series of podcasts, or, you know, when I deliver a sermon, or whenever I'm like, you know, doing whatever, you know, like I want to make sure that it's very well thought out, and it's very helpful, and all of these things. If I'm doing a task, I want to make sure that it's done correctly. And so yeah, if I'm being rushed, then that's just gonna continue to have the same effect that somebody with anxiety is going to have on me. So I really don't like that. That's a big pet peeve. Number 8 is false victimization. Made a whole video on this as well. You know, people sitting in church and the preacher says something about, you know, oh yeah, you know, there's people out there who all they are, they just hating on people. They're just hating on people. And everybody in the congregation is like, amen. Oh man, y'all got some haters in my life already. It's like, well, how do you know that you're not a hater in somebody else's narrative? You know? Yeah, and even things like, you know, when it comes to like racism, you know, like now there's people who like just draw the race card, like just unnecessarily. Like I've been in situations where like one of my managers at my old job, she was accused of being racist, and she is definitely not racist. She is far from racist. But simply because these black people at the bar were offended by what somebody else may have said, it was an intricate situation, and the manager kind of like took that other person's side because it was just more rational. It had nothing to do with color. It's like, oh, you're racist, and this is like, come on. Because now once we start like falsely victimizing ourselves, just like the boy who cried wolf, when we actually start to like claim racism or something like that, people are not going to believe us, you know? So let's try to be more accurate about when we are actually being victimized in a situation, because then that goes into your credibility. And I don't know about y'all, but for me, I want it to be so very clear to everyone that I do not falsely victimize myself, so that when I do claim to be a victim in a situation, people can actually believe me. Like they don't have to like think so hard, like, is Denzel telling the truth, or is he maybe just like, maybe he's telling his truth from his perception, but the reality of the situation is boom, 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 you know? So I don't like having to do that with other people. I just kind of want to believe you. But if you have a track record for having like false victimization, now it makes it difficult, and it's just a whole lot of unnecessary things. So yeah, that is a pet peeve of mine, false victimization. Number 9, over-spiritualization. Goodness, this is so heavy in the Christian community, but this is also in like new age stuff as well. You know, people who are just like, you know, you ask them how they're doing, and it's just like you ask them about something like specific, and it's almost as if they're not even being real with you. They're just kind of like saying a whole bunch of like fluff, like, oh, you know, the Lord has been really testing me and putting me through fire, but you know, I'm going to come out and develop as a coal, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, dope. In what ways has he been testing you? Like, is it your job? Is it your marriage? Is it your finances? Like, what's going on? Like, it's just been Satan attacking me here and there, but I've been in my prayer closet, and you know, the Bible says that, you know, blah, 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 like, you know, the truth shall set you free, and, you know, we do not wrestle with flesh and blood, but against principalities. And yes, the Bible does say that, but true, yes, God is looking out for you, but what exactly is happening to you? Like, what do you want me to pray? Oh, pray for my strength and endurance, so that I can endure these trials and I can see my way to the end, so that I can see God say, good job and well done, faithful servant, and blah, 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 blah. And okay, do you just not want to like tell me like what you're being tempted with, or like, I don't know. So that's just, I just see a lot of like over spiritualization and things, you know. And again, I am a Christian. I'm a strong Christian, like as in a strong believer of Jesus Christ and what he did on the cross and everything, redemption of our sins, all of that. But I feel like there's times to like there's got to be like some sort of balance like between being spiritual, and giving Bible scriptures and all of that, praying for someone, all of that, and then just being like a practical person. Like, okay, well, this is what's going on in my life, like realistically, and I just want to like share this with you, and could you just be praying for me about that? It's like, yeah, dope. And here's some practical things I could help you out with. Like, yo, actually, thanks for letting me know. This could be an answer to prayer for you right now. They're actually hiring in my job. Do you want me to, like, be real, be honest, be open, stop speaking so cryptically. What are you doing? And last, but definitely not least, one of my biggest pet peeves would be misread interpretation, misread intentions or projected intentions. I think that this is like this is one of the things that like could really just get to me personally as a person, because I think that I curate and I work so heavily on my intentions with things that when I see somebody project ill intent onto me, when they perceive an action that I've done and then they root it in some sort of like really off base intentions of mine, and then they don't even try to take the time to ask me about it, like, hey, this is what, like, I get it if, you originally thought that this is what I intended or these were my intentions, but then you came and you talked to me about it and you were open to me explaining what the actual reality of the situation was and all of that, giving me the chance to apologize, whatever. But like people who just don't even want to hear it, or they think that I'm lying or whatever, it's like, wow, like you really don't know me then. And that's insulting. Huge pet peeve of mine, because again, like I think that I really put in a lot of work. I think that one thing, honestly, like if God was like here right now, one thing that I can be 100% certain of is that he could vouch for me, that I do have one of the like I work so hard to have the purest of intentions. My actions may not always exemplify or demonstrate that. It may not always look like that on the outside because I make mistakes, or maybe I may have had a short-sighted moment, or maybe I thought that things were going to go a certain way and they ended up not going a certain way, which goes back in line with like making mistakes. But I do not have like ill intentions like 99.9999998% of the time. And so when somebody like sees an action of mine and then bases it in ill intent, it just really bothers me. It really does bother me. Like, and I think that that's something that could also like quickly like anger me. Like there was a time where I had to even like, I yelled at one of my bosses a while back at a different job, because I was making mistakes and they just kept like they were punishing me for a lot of things, and I just kind of like told the boss, I was like, hey, just so you know, because the way they were speaking to me, it kind of seemed like this is what they were thinking, and I just had to like make it clear to them, like, hey, just so you know, I don't wake up in the morning like,
oh, how can I upset my boss today?
Like I didn't plan to get here late to work. I didn't plan to mess up that table's order. I didn't plan to do this just to like, and if anything, I try to avoid these situations. And so the fact that it's happening, I'm already upset about it for myself. And I understand that, you have to like have a talking with me or whatever, but the way that you're speaking to me and making it seem as if I do these things on purpose to upset you is so off base. And I would highly like if you just turned that off, because that's not what's going on here. If anything, I try to avoid these kinds of situations because this is embarrassing, and it's not a good reflection of who I am. That's just what it is. So yeah, that I would say that's my number 10 pet peeve, but definitely not if it's coming for ranking. It's actually probably like one of like the highest, like right up there with like being interrupted, and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be my 10 pet peeves. Now, what are yours? I want to know. Were there some of mine that, you're like, oh, I totally relate to that, or like, oh, well, that's interesting. That doesn't bother me at all. If anything, I actually like when people do this, or, this is that. Was there some perspective that you wanted to provide onto these? Like, this was just a video, like, if anything, this is just kind of like a fun video challenge, I guess I wanted to do for myself. Like, oh, let me see if I can come up with 10 pet peeves of mine. And I would just like to view myself like rambling about these 10, and what other 10 are out there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Provide thoughts, perspectives, questions, whatever. Tell me what your pet peeves are, which ones that you relate to, which ones that you didn't relate to of mine. And I think that's about it. Done.